Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to make a pencil skirt with slit in front. The slit is going to be on the left hand side of the front part of the skirt. If you'd like to see how I made this, please watch to the end of this tutorial. So I've folded my fabric into 4, the front into 2 and the back into 2. And I have measured out 1 inch, which I ruled from the center. I measured out 1 inch for both the front and the back, so you can see the line. I've made a straight line from the top to the length of this skirt, 1 inch, and from that line, which is the center line, now I have quarter of the hip measurement plus extra 1 inch for sewing allowance. That's what I have on fold. The length of the band, the height of the band is 1.5 inches, but on fold I cut 2 inches because I'll be using ½ inch to sew it to the skirt. So I've ruled out my vertical measurements. The first line is the waistline. So to take other measurements, I would place my tape on the waistline on 1.5 inches, which is for the band, and measure other measurements from the waist to the hip line is 10 inches because this is a high waist skirt, and the length of the skirt is 32 inches, and I've added extra 1.5 inches hemming allowance after the length of the skirt. To take my body measurement, I would place the waist, quarter of the waist measurement on the waistline plus extra 1 inch for that, and on the hip line I'm going to impute quarter of the hip measurements, which is 11 inches, and I'm going to connect the measurements on the waistline to the measurements on the hip line using a curved ruler. I'm also going to add 1 inch allowance on the waistline and on the hip line. This 1 inch is for sewing the skirt. Then I'm going to measure what I have on the hip line. The measurement I have, I would remove 2 inches from that and place it on the hem line, okay, and then I'll add my 1 inch sewing allowance. I'm going to connect the two measurements, the measurement on the waist, on the hem line, to the measurement on the hip, okay. Then for the darts, I'm going to use half of the bust span measurement. Half of the bust span I'm working with here is 4 inches, so I measured 4 inches from the center, and then I came down for the front darts by 5 inches. Then I'm going to connect the 4 inches, the 5 inches I came down by, to the darts, okay, on the waist of the skirt. Then on either side of this line, I'm going to take ½ inch for sewing the darts, okay. That's the darts measurement, ½ inch on both sides because I added 1 inch allowance for the darts. So I'm connecting as shown. I'm also going to take ½ inch after the waistline. This is for attaching the band to the skirt. So I'll go ahead and cut out. I'm done drafting the skirt. I'm going to just cut out, okay. I'm going to cut out the skirt. So for me to cut, I'm going to fold in my hemming allowance this way and cut, okay. So please take note, I will not be lining this skirt, so I'm just making it this way. I won't be attaching lining to it. So after cutting out the skirt, I'm going to go ahead and measure out and mark out the dart for the back. So for the back, I'm still taking the half of the bust span measurement, but for the length of the dart is going to be 6 inches, okay. It is 1 inch longer than the dart I took for the front part. So I'm just connecting the same way I did for the front dart, ½ inch on both sides of this line, and connect it to the end of the 6 inches I measured down. Then for the back, I'm going to notch my dart. Then for the back, I'll be attaching my zipper to the back. That is why I took this 1 inch allowance before the center measurement, before the center line. So I'll slit that open and attach my zipper at the back. Then for the front part, I'm going to I'm going to notch um my center line, the place I chalked, I notched it so that it will show on even the fabric, the one under. Okay, so I'm going to open up this way. Okay, for you to know where you're going to place your seat, you open up to the front so that the front will be the right side of the skirt would face you, so you can now note the left side. Okay, if you want your slit to be on the left side like I want mine, so this is the right side, this is the left side, and this is where I want the slit to be. So for easy understand, I'm going to make a little L on the left side, on the right side of the skirt. Okay, so I now know where my left is. This is the left side. So remember the 1 inch I added. Okay, when you open it up is 2 inches, so I'll try to move this added allowance to the left side where I'm going to make my slit. So this allowance I added is just for sewing up when I slit the skirt, because I'm going to be slitting it the side I want the slit to be. I'm going to cut it open. So to do that, I'm going to measure from the center line. You can see the chalked part, that's the center line. So I'm going to remeasure for my dart now on the left side. From that chalked line, I'm measuring 4 inches, which is half of the bust span measurement. But I won't be cutting there because I would need allowance to sew it. That 2 inches, I'm going to share it between this line. So I'm going to measure another 1 inch. Okay, so making it 5 inches. I'm going to slit on these 5 inches I just measured from the center line. The chalked part that runs down from the top to the bottom of the skirt is the center of the skirt. So I've measured out half of my bust span measurement and another 1 inch. Okay, so that's how you measure. So I'm going to take these 5 inches all down. This way I've shared that extra 2 inches I added to the front. Okay, so that I'll use it to sew up when I slit my skirt. So I'm going to go ahead and measure 5 inches from that line down. I'll keep taking 5 inches so that I'll have a straight line. After taking it, I'm going to connect all the dots I've made together. So you can see I've moved that allowance now to the left side. Okay, to be used to sew up when I cut. So I'm going to cut this line open. So the 1 inch on either side now that I've moved to this side will be used to sew up. Okay, so after cutting, what I'm going to do now is to sew it together 1 inch on both sides of this slit line, and you sew to where you want. I want to sew from the skirt waist. I will sew to maybe 17 or 18 inches. Okay, that's where I'll stop, so that my slit will now be the part that is open. Okay, so I'll go to the machine and sew to this point, and also sew in my darts. So I've sewn in my darts for the back. You can see what I have. I've also sewn in my zip. There is no slit at the back. Okay, my slit is going to be in front. Then for the front part, I've also sewn in the darts on the right side. Okay, only the right side has a dart now, and the back part I've sewn up to 17 inches, and the remaining part is going to be my slits, the opening in front. So for the rough edges, all I'm going to do is to fold ½ inch twice and hem. You either sew it up or use your hemming gum. So for this skirt, I'm going to use a hemming gum to hem in ½ inch twice on both sides of the open slit. Then after doing that, I'm going to place them right sides to right side and sew them by the side using the 1 inch allowance I added for sewing this skirt. So after sewing, I'll also go ahead and hem the lower part of the skirt. So I've done all that. I've sewn, I've hemmed. You can see I used the hemming gum to hem the slit parts. Okay, so I'll go ahead and fold hem the lower part. After that, I'll be attaching my band. So you can see I've also ironed in ½ inch on one side of my band, so I'm left with the other ½ inch. I'll be attaching the band. I opened up my zipper. I'll attach from one end this way. I'll sew on ½ inch. Okay, after sewing, I'll flip to the other side and then top stitch to hide the first stitch. After that, I'm going to then add eye and hook at the back at this point. Okay, to just hook it. Okay, so you can see I've attached my band. You do that after attaching your band. So this is the skirt. I've sewn everything and I've ironed. You can see how the back part looks. This is just the back part. So I'm going to it. I've attached the band, I've hemmed the lower part, and you can see the slit I have. Okay, so at the end where your slit started, you can just tack that part, okay, a little, so that it doesn't tear when you're wearing it. So guys, this is it on how to make this simple skirt. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you're yet to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to like this video and also turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Bye.